Let's go, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the LA Poker Roundup. Thank you for joining us. As always, I am your host, Ty Dobberton, along with my co-host, Derek Kwan.
What's up, everyone?
It is March 19th, 2024, and this is episode 28. All right, so what have we got going on this week? Well, I'm not going to lie, I felt like it was a quiet week around LA, but we will look around and we'll start with some results that we were able to find, as always.
And then we'll talk a little bit about how our weekends went. And Ty, might have gone out of town to play a little bit poker, but I stayed local.
That's right. We got to make sure someone's covering home base here. And then, as mentioned, I went up there to Vegas, and not only was I there, but I saw a number of locals hanging out up at the Wynn. And, looking around, I also managed to find a few articles about some LA players traveling around the world.
Nice. And then Ty's dug up a little bit of rake numbers to see what the rake growth has been over the last few years. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, and it's a nasty topic, but somebody has to do it, And then, we had Savage on last week. We talked about his new tournament format that he was testing out up at Thunder Valley, the Savage Average. That tournament has happened, and we have some feedback online from the some folks who did really well in it. I can't remember if that guy won, and also some feedback from Savage itself. So it seemed like it went well. I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm irrationally excited about this tournament format because I just love the idea behind it. So yeah, we're gonna have a good time chatting about that one. But then continuing on with Savage, he also previewed a new payout formula, which also drive a pretty good discussion about what's best for poker. Is it very top heavy payouts or more flatter payouts? Especially guys like Salzburg is saying that deep runs don't get rewarded enough. So another cool topic to talk about.
Yeah, old Salty or Unsalted now as he goes had a lot of, I think, influence on Matt there with his discussion back and forth. He's been really lighting up them Twitter streets. And then finally,
he has been, yeah.
And then finally, this morning my phone was blowing up. I saw Derek put out a whopper of a tweet today, a real doozy, and he really was flipping out about the issues he sees with the philosophies of our local casinos and their user acquisition models as a expert himself in the growth. So we'll go through that tweet. We'll talk about the responses, and we'll let Derek take the floor. But before we do that, I want to mention that I saw also on Twitter that the last couple results, as I was trying to find results to post for this week, the last couple results from the Commerce Series from the LAPC were not posted. I was not the only one to notice this. Mr. Rob Gill was posting up and asking around at Commerce and at Amanda, what the heck is up with that? Can we get them? So I sent some messages out to Amanda. We did some tweeting, and she responded very quick. Miss Botfeld said that she will look into it. She's going to go and ask around where those results for the last big event, the Remington, and the events after it. So that's events 64 through 66 were not posted to the site. So she's going to try and dig those up and get them posted as soon as she can. So hopefully that is pretty easy to find because they were starting to do a pretty good job of it. I guess they must have just dropped through the cracks right there at the last weekend. Speaking of Amanda, she is also apparently going to be doing some commentating. So I believe this is her first commentating gig, and she will be over there at the Live at Commerce for the cash game, commentating with her husband, who goes by Irish Luckbox, David R. So that should be interesting. If you have time, tune into that. It's actually going to be Xuan Lu, who we had on a month ago on the show. She'll be there playing some cash games there, with Lynn, a bunch of folks I don't know, but I'm sure if you play these cash games, you might recognize them. But it's going to be Lynn on the table and Xuan, and it's going to be Amanda in the booth. So that should be fun tomorrow. Make sure you tune in if you have a chance. I hope they're getting better every week, and they've been trying a lot of different commentating pairs. So hopefully they can strike gold and everybody can get a chance to get some reps in and really kind of improve their game. I know it's not easy to do.
Yeah, definitely go out there and support, especially Amanda. As we mentioned before, Amanda is, one of us, a poker player that is now doing marketing over the Commerce Casino. She's been extremely communicative with the community, with me and Ty especially, and just been a really, really great voice for us. So yeah, now that she's getting a shot to commentate, let's all give her a little bit of support.
Yeah. So I'll be tuning in. We'll be checking that out. And, she said, if you like, or you want to have, a challenge trying to understand her husband's Irish accent, tune on in. That'll be fun. So let's hop around town now and see what kind of results. The other thing I asked her to do was hit those tournament directors that are the floors and see if they'd be willing to do some more posting of the results from the Commerce dailies, because now that the series is over, Commerce has their dailies going again. And really in the last year or two, they've really kind of fallen off as far as reporting dailies goes. They seldom post winners, unlike our buddy over at the Gardens, who loves to post up pictures of the winners. So this is where I have results from this week. So congratulations. Kevin posted up this nice winning poster here on Friday. It looks like the last two guys chopped it up. One of the guys, Hector Alvarez, chopped it up with Manny. So congratulations to these two. They took home the Friday tournament down there at the Gardens for about $7,000 and $6,000 apiece.
Nice work, guys.
Yeah.
And definitely, the poker community obviously loves celebrating winners, getting themselves noticed if they go deeper, win a tournament, right? Also get covered by us. So 100%, just getting all this stuff up on social media and on your websites is super important.
Yeah, there are some people who don't really want like the notoriety. They don't want their name out there, but I'd say the vast majority of tournament players, they like it. Especially the people who play less, honestly, because it's just cool to be able to look up your name and show people like, hey, look, I won, I made some money, I did this. I really do play poker,
For that very, very small percentage of people want to be secretive, they'll just say no and fine, move on, right? But everyone else kind of wants it.
Yeah, and they can just request to not be put in Hendon. So,
right.
So then on Saturday here, the Saturday event over at the Gardens was won by Corey Morin, who looked like he had a great time winning this guy.
Nice.
It looks like it was another final two players chopping. The other player didn't get into the picture this time, but Corey took home almost $12,000 for a Saturday daily, because the dailies down there, or the weeklies, they're just off the hook. I mean, they're insane. They're so good. Go and play the dailies down at the Gardens is just fantastic. You can win $12,000 just weekly tournaments.
One day.
They barely.
Nice.
Who needs a series? Who needs a series? This is like the regular weekend tournament.
Don't get me started on that.
So congratulations to Corey. Now those were the only finishing results that I was able to find for the weekend. But as you know, there are other things going on. In particular, we have the Mega Millions has begun. Now the Mega Millions. All right, we'll come back to that one. But the Mega Millions have begun. We have the bagging results. 208 people have bagged so far, and there have been 39. I did the math on this. I believe there were 39 people. Yep, there are 38 double bags so far. So that means, as you know, I like to do the update on how much money has been paid out of the prize pool. And one of the main reasons I like to do that is because if you're buying straight into day two, that is somewhat important information. So far, as of yesterday, $235,000 has been paid out of that prize pool, so out of that guarantee. Now, all that means is it's a pretty large number considering there's still about a week, right? I mean, there's still they go all the way till Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So
somebody said today there's 24 starting flights. I didn't even realize that. It's just such a crazy number. Did you actually do so there's two buy-ins. Mm-hmm. There's a 580 and then so are they both paying out 600?
Yeah. Yep. So for the 580, you don't actually get your whole money back on the first bag. You just get most of it back.
Oh, but then
but for the 280, you would. So for the 280, right? So actually, that's a good point. Someone brought this up on Twitter the other day. The Mega Millions flights are unique. That 280, they actually have a min cash. They have 2 tiers of caching before you bag for the 280. So if you weren't aware of that, that's more money coming out of the prize pool. So actually, right. I take it back. There's more than $235,000 that's been paid out of the prize pool because I didn't do any math on what those min cash people pulled out.
Oh, right. Yeah, the people that didn't go forward, yep. Right? But the 280 payout is 600.
Yeah, when you bag, because you bag it like 6%. 6% bag.
I thought it would pay like 300. Okay, that's interesting.
No, the min cash is like 300. So at 12%, it's like 300, and then at I can bring up the sheet, but yeah, the min cash is like 300. Then there's like a 450, and then if you bag, you get 600 in your bag.
It's so exhausting talking about this tournament, man.
It is. I mean, they jammed 3 or 4 tournaments together, and that's what they ended up with, right? Yeah. I do have the day 2 return list now. So as I said before, the day 2 return list is they had 208 people. They had 38 bags. Tan Lei, or Tan Lee, I believe we read his name a couple times for. He is currently the chip leader with 824,000 chips. After that,
Wow, that's a
it's a pretty good
heap.
stack. Yeah, I think you start 250 if you buy straight in. So he's got over three and like 3.5 starting stacks. Hein Do is right behind him at 770. After that, Mark Robinson. Congratulations, Mark. Third in chips right now, 704,000. And you'll notice the top three stacks here have all bagged multiple times.
Yeah.
So kind of
So Jesse in chat saying Sunday day 2A also has a qualifying 560 at 11 a.m. Still make it to day 2B. So this is an interesting thing we talked about on over the weekend with a couple of the floor people about can you still get a double bag bonus, right, from that qualifying 11 a.m. on Sunday? And the answer was no, because now this is not, that flight has nothing to do with, you know, the previous, I guess, like quote unquote tournament. So anyways, it's just another wrinkle.
So is it a
confusing
satellite
thing,
or is
but-
it an actual 580 flight? Because usually late like that, they were running satellites, but they're actually running a regular day two where you take your bag forward.
I mean, basically the way they're describing it sounds like a satellite because you can't get a double bag bonus out of it, right? So this just feels like it's specifically just to get into to a, or I'm sorry, into 2B. So it's specifically to get into 2B.
But if it's a, you know, the difference being, are you winning 250,000 chips no matter what if you survive, or are you winning, you know, you take your stack forwards, right? That's what I was wondering.
Oh,
Right, because there's a difference,
yeah.
right?
There's always a question with this tournament. There's always another question that comes because it's overly complicated.
It's extremely
but yes, that's a good question.
complicated. Yeah, I didn't realize they were running another flight concurrent with that one. And then, you know, the other reason I would say they probably don't give a double bag bonus is like, what if I bought directly into day 2A, I bust, and now I play that flight and I bag? Can't I argue I need a
Right.
double bag?
Yeah, you know, if somebody actually does that, go argue for the double bag and be a pain in the ass.
Right? But yeah, this one, I do see it.
It's a fair argument.
I do see it, and it is a regular one. And you know, it says according to you guys, you can't double bag, but the structure sheet that they have on their website says you can double bag because it's the same structure page. So unless there's a fine print here, I'm not seeing. They need to make sure they explain that loudly at the beginning of that tournament.
Yeah, maybe they can. Not that anybody there, I think, listens to the show, but yeah, they should probably post some sort of answer online.
Yep, because that is definitely will be relevant to people in it. There'll be people who like are playing it just to get the double bag. Don't even like, for instance, Tan Lei here. I believe, even though he has bagged many times, he's bagged 4 times, I believe. He actually, I think, bagged that amount on his first shot. So if we come down here, he's bagged 4 times total. So he has 3 bonuses already. And I believe what I read in the coverage was that he's bagged. He got that on his first try. Also in the top,
He got 800K on his first try and he kept playing.
I think so. Yeah, because that's what you do. I mean, if I'm just trying to win money, I'm gonna keep playing. You play every day. It's like a Survivor where you get to play a Survivor and everyone else is trying to win chips. You know, like what an advantage. Not only that, not everyone can even win the Survivor amount. You get to play a Survivor and other people aren't. It's like, you know, if you're grinding every day and you're good at them, geez, it's just that's what we've said before. If you can play every single one of these, that's a good way to make money. It's just that if you can't play every single one of these, you're at a disadvantage. Like I was pointing out here, these guys at the top, a lot of the top 3 stacks all bagged multiple times. You know, other familiar names we see up here. I see one of the Bayo Santos here, Elvin. So, and then I see the twins, the brothers, also up here. So they both have over 600,000. So congrats to them. I see Tony. Yep, Tony's got 630.
Yeah. Tony Janov.
Yep, we got Paul Wynn here, 550-ish. Yep. So a lot of regs have already bagged up nicely here. Andy Garcia, over 500K. So it's going to be a nice field there. Jonathan Bowers, as if we haven't said his name every single week for the last month and a half. 470K basically. So a lot of nice stacks here for the regs here.
All the usual suspects.
Yep. And let me see here. If I go, this is one page, about a page and a half, we get to an average stack, right? And then a page and a half of less than average stacks, 2.5 pages, 2.5. So about 2.5 pages of less than average stacks, page and a half of average or better. So kind of still matching that pattern. I've said it always seems to be about 1/3 over average, 2/3 under average. So yeah, so that's where they're at currently. They had more flights today. Apparently, they have flights not just through Saturday, all the way through Sunday. So it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be a huge one. Did you get to play any of those flights this weekend? How was it around LA this weekend?
I did. I was able to fire. I think I fired the late on Friday and then on Saturday. Um, yeah,
So
it
the
didn't
five
really
six
go
or the
well.
580s or the 560s? That's those ones.
Yeah, yeah, the bigger ones. Yeah, they didn't really go super well. I feel like I'm still running really, really bad. But I did have a couple of spurts of like, nice little mini runs here and there. So that was nice actually to be able to go on like little mini, 5-hand sun runs or something. But otherwise it doesn't, it didn't feel great. I also feel like I'm not playing survivor-ish type of poker in these
Right.
flights, even though maybe I should dial that back a little bit. I am just trying to accumulate as big of a stack as possible, and if not, I'm just going to go into day two. But then I could fire an enormous amount of bullets and waste a lot of money on this tournament and turn my ROI upside down. So I got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
But I am definitely playing much more on the aggressive side to try to get chips. But it's not working well so far.
It's a tough balance. It's a tough balance. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
now that you're getting to be more of a personality, you're getting more of a noticed. You're telling me about all that sweet promo code money you're getting in. Maybe people they know you, they know what you're playing. They're onto you, man. You might have to switch it up. Like after Doyle wrote that book, you're gonna have to change your style.
I will say that people aren't folding to me very much, so that's yeah, maybe I do need to dial it back a little bit.
You have to you have to change it up and find a new way to get those chips, man. I don't know. You got to be careful how much you reveal in those vlogs. When is the next vlog coming out? You got to have a lot of material by now. We've been busy. I know.
You know what? I haven't. Just because I didn't advance in any of those the bigger multi-day tournaments. Usually I don't do a vlog unless I do that. So because of that, there just has been no vlogs for the last 2 or 3 weeks or something. But hopefully we'll get one
Come on,
going for this.
let us
for
know.
This one.
Let us know in the chat. I think that's a mistake. I think the people want to see your pain. I think they want to share the pain, man. I think they want to see the train wrecks. I think that would make grade A content. Let us up in the chat. Let us up in the chat.
I could actually just let the camera just roll the whole time so everyone can see every single minute of suffering.
I'm telling you, man, that's a big genre. I
Yeah.
think underserved.
Well, it sounds like you headed out to Vegas though. So what was that all about?
Yeah, so I did not stay around town. I did not want to fire the quantums and try to double and triple bag. I wasn't up for it, man. If I'm gonna play this thing, well, we've talked about this a couple weeks, but so many reasons I'm just not excited about this. Which this is about as unexcited as I can be for a 2 million guarantee tournament around here because. If it wasn't bad enough already, they moved all the day twos to shift so that it's on Monday is the second one, which means that Tuesday is day two. Tuesday's day two.
Yep.
I mean, come on. Friday and Saturday, if you're going to run like 28 flights of your day one anyways, then just put the day twos on Friday and Saturday and give us that day three on Sunday. You already have 28 days. They don't have to squeeze. You can put them over 2 weekends and still have it.
Yeah, with that many day one flights, I still don't understand.
And
that was all my whole rant on Twitter was basically not. I mean, obviously it's not just quantums doing this, but yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah, so I mean that alone just made me like really indifferent. I'm like, I mean, I'm gonna play something. I'll play a little. I'll play a flight, or I might, I'll fire something. But like, if it were Friday, Saturday, Sunday, day three, I would 100% be committing to firing day two bullets on Friday and Saturday. As it is, I don't think I'm going to fire any day two bullets. Like I'm just going to try and get in. I'm just going to try and get in. Like honestly, my plan for this weekend is I'm going to play the cheap flight, the afternoon flight, because I think that I may be wrong, but I think that the odds of bagging a really big stack are actually a little higher in that one because I feel like, with fewer people getting through, there's more chances near the end with the higher blind levels to have those opportunities to just like spike big, take big stacks from people and higher variance at the end, maybe get a higher stack. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that could definitely be the situation. And if I get a big,
you definitely got the higher variance part down, right?
Yeah,
that would be for sure.
Yep.
Higher variance.
So higher variance if I just get a bigger stack, because I don't want to go and play Sunday with a small stack, and I don't want to have to come back, take a day off work on Tuesday with a small stack and cash for $1,200. It's like I took a day off of work for
it's
this.
really
Like this ain't worth it. you know.
It's so important for operators to understand this sort of psychology and mentality of working people, right? There's like so much cost to coming out of work, so you don't like. That's definitely one of those big things for a pro coming back with a short stack. It's not a big deal because they weren't doing anything anyway, right? But to come back to a tournament with a very low probability of actually going deep, it really sucks to take another day off of work. So many little things about understanding the plight of working people needs to be thought through.
Yeah, and we're going to circle around again to that at the end. So, but yeah, so because of all that was going on this weekend were your regular weekly dailies, right? You can do that anytime, and then the quantum. So I decided, you know what? I hate mystery bounties, but that is a really big tournament. Let me go on up there to the Wynn and give that a shot.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of flack from my buddies actually because I was just, it was a last minute decision. I went online, I searched for my hotels. I'm like, let me find a cheap hotel, something close to the Wynn, right? There's not really a lot. So I stayed at Circus, and apparently I beat the odds because I don't think I contracted any kinds of like rashes or diseases.
Are you sure?
Or anything. I'm pretty sure it's been 3-ish days now. I feel all right.
Did you get a blood test?
I have not gotten a blood test. No, I should schedule that.
You should go get a blood test. Yeah.
But yeah, so I got a lot of flack for that. But it worked out. Like, okay, I got some sleep on the first night. Maybe not so much the second night. That was a problem. But went up there. I went up. I fired the mystery bounty, the Wynn mystery bounty, the 1600. And I actually had a great day one. This is probably the best. I've only gone up and played at the Wynn 3 times now, and this is definitely the most favorable day one table I've ever gotten. I felt really comfortable all day long for the most part. I did in level 1, I did my typical play some crappy hand too long, and I think I cracked aces, and I almost stacked a guy on level 1. By the end of level 1, I had over a double up, and I basically stayed there most of the day until the next double up, and I was pretty comfortable in chips for most of the day. I never didn't grow and become a monster stack, but I was pretty comfortable. And then right before the table broke, it started to get a little dicey there. Right before my table broke, I had Mr. Brock Lesnar sit down to my right. I had another guy who I didn't know, but he sure knew over there. And then all day long, I've been playing with an older gentleman at the end named Terry, who's apparently a real big regular, and he was not playing like a old fella. He was playing like very aggressively and much stronger. So he's definitely, I could see that he was not, he was definitely a regular who probably does pretty well. So it was getting a little dicey at the end.
A regular in Vegas?
Yeah, like probably in all these larger tournament circuits.
Yeah.
So it was getting a little dicey then, but then the table broke. And then I went to another table with a whole bunch of, like half the table was LA guys and the other half of the table was these young Euro kids. And
that doesn't sound great.
Yeah, well, it wasn't as bad as you thought because the Euro kids were really short stacked and the LA players, for the most part, were crushing everybody. The chip leader, the guy who bagged the absolute chip lead for day one, was sitting at the table. He's apparently someone who used to live in LA, plays in a lot of the private kind of cash games with Mariano types and those. I guess his name is, it's Kai something. He's a white fella. If you look at the day run return list, you'd see him at the top. But he apparently lives in Arizona. He comes and plays in LA a lot. And then another fella who was from Calabasas, he had a bunch of chips when I got over there, and he was very, LA. And then Paris, his first name was Britton, last name was Paris. He came over to the table near the end. So it's just like LA folks all over the place. And another guy whose name I don't remember, he busted off the table. But so it was like 4, it's kind of like an LA table really. And the Euro kids, they had not that many chips, so they couldn't do very much. And the one who did talk was this British fella, very nice kid. And I actually convinced him to come to the Mega Millions next week. So hopefully, if he gets you, I'm sorry. If he doesn't, then look, I brought more prize money. So, hey, how you doing, Sean? How you doing, Xander?
It's kind of a bad sign, right? That you have LA local players going out to the Wynn, because it's a big deal to go and travel, right? There's like a lot of costs. Even if you're staying at the Circus, there's still cost. There's food. There's transportation, right? All that kind of stuff. And then just getting out of town is kind of a big deal. But you're skipping it during what is going to be the biggest guarantee of the year in LA for sure, right? We're not going to have a $2 million tournament otherwise. So that's not a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hate mystery bounties. I think I've said that to everybody who will listen. I hate them.
And you went for a freaking mystery bounty.
Yeah, and I
couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and I bagged. I was 20th in chips going into day 2. Day two, I draw my table. It looks pretty good. I got Maria Ho across the table, and everyone else. I got the top chip stack of my table, and I freaking like basically punted it off in like one orbit. It was very embarrassing. I feel, on the one hand, this is probably the best I've done in the 3 trips, most comfortable I felt, played well. But then day two, I can blame a little bit of lack of sleep. Like you said, traveling's tough. Was tired,
it's rough.
and I can blame a little bit. Just the cards just were bad luck for me as well. Like the way I was not playing well was awful for the cards I got. Like I literally, my first hand I got Queen 10 suited, got jammed on, so just like lost, put too much in and then lost. Next hand I get Ace King suited, the whole table calls, completely brick. I have to fold that one, and then on my last hand I hit this runner flush where I was being the aggressor, and I just punted off at the end. The guy flopped a full house. It was just like I'm just like, what am I doing here? I should have stayed in bed.
Yeah. Actually, now that Sean's in chat, it reminded me that on Saturday there was a table. It was a new table, and it was me, Sean, Luke, Charlie Do.
Oh,
it was
wow.
just a pretty ridiculous
See,
table.
my table was way better than that.
and then like 2 other players that are actually like pretty good players that I played with before. So it was a pretty stupid table.
Nice.
Anyways, that just reminded me of that.
Yeah. So the other, but I felt a little less bad because as I was leaving the payout desk and walking around deciding if I'm gonna play the 1 day the 500, some other LA folks walked by who also got kicked out of that tournament immediately. Rudy and Adam walked by, and they were both out pretty quick. Also, no bounties, so we got a little commiseration going. But
that sucks so hard when you don't get bounties for a bounty tournament, especially a mystery bounty. At least get the pull on envelope.
I know. Let me pull just one. That's all I wanted. But yeah, so it was a good trip overall. And honestly, the way that with how bad, like this is how bad the quantum scheduling is that I really was strongly considering going back next weekend for the 500K guarantee 1100 tournament, because day 2s or day 1s are until Saturday. Day 2 is on Sunday. Like that's all it takes. I will try. If I had a place to stay for free and I wasn't so old and tired, I would easily just pick that over this Mega Millions as someone who needs to get to work on Monday.
If you can't keep Ty and like Rudy and like Adam in town, I mean, there's something wrong, right? This is our biggest event of the year.
Now, to be fair, Rudy and Adam will probably be here for the Mega Millions for the weekday, but for the Quantum Flight day 1s, like we just don't care. Like these are wasted weekends for us, but yeah. So that was fun. See, there were a lot of them. As you said, it's a mixed bag. It's fun to see those guys up there, but yeah, they should all be playing at the bike, right? They should all be playing at the series here. If you just ran a weekend tournament that was like a 200K guarantee, we would have. Well, most of us would have stayed.
Yeah.
However, as I mentioned, one of the guys who was bagging up with me on day 1, Britton Paris, he did much better than the rest of us, and he actually pulled a 50,000 bounty, so congrats.
Nice. Wow. What was the buy-in for this tournament again? 600?
1,600 buy-in. And
1,600.
Yeah, 1,600. And our man Britton pulled a 50K.
Nice.
Look at him go. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, Paul Chowderson, I think he pulled the big 100K at this thing. or maybe it was the one in November, but he pulled one. But it's good to see. So at least someone brought some money back. Yep. At least someone brought some money back to LA. So congrats, Britton. Well done.
Nice.
I'm not sure what place he finished in. I think he finished in the top. He was still there quite late. He was in the top 27. He was in the final 3 tables. So way to go.
Yeah.
Way
Love to see
go.
a good celebration too. You know?
Oh man. So at least we all of LA didn't leave empty-handed. Frank says he thinks there's Pokemon at Circus Circus. Frank, every time I walked through the casino floor, it was too late, and the upstairs area, what they said was the midway was closed, so I didn't get to go and see that. But I did see they had a anime and figure store that was also closed every time I walked through it. But yeah.
Are there really Pokemons at Circus Circus? Like a display or something?
Well, in that store, it's like an anime store where you can buy Funkos and plushies and figures and stuff. But nice. I always walk through the place really late, so it was always closed. So
I'm not sure if I've ever been in Circus Circus. Maybe I have. I don't know.
I had never been in it. Like the concept sounds okay, but it's so old and a little bit run down now. When I got there at night, a lot of the lights were kind of like, not so bright anymore, and the clown motif really just looked creepy. Like it was really looking like that stereotype creep.
You know that Twitter guy Jacob Orth? You know who that is?
Not off the top of my head.
He's
No.
a guy that just goes around and like film stuff about Vegas. He actually did one recently about like the bad neighborhoods in Vegas. It was like actually really cool watch. You should go check it out.
Okay, for sure. I've been watching this other woman who is like she's more of a travel agenty type of person, putting out all the spots. Okay,
Yeah.
so we were not the only ones traveling this week. We have ourselves a world traveler in our LA regs, and I just happened to be scrolling Twitter, and I saw that he caught the eye of WPT. So let me just show you this. Check this out. What the heck? We've got Mr. David
I started playing
David
poker
Uvadov
6
here.
years ago
Look
now,
at this guy.
right before I graduated college. Started playing online, very small stakes, $2, $6 tournaments. Managed to
nice.
find a couple scores and just kept playing online a lot. And then for the past 2 years, I've been more focusing on playing live because now I want to travel and see the
What was
world more.
I mean, what was the occasion? What was the
This is him at look at this guy. And
was it Amsterdam?
I wish I had saved some of Mr. Ung's memes. He's got so many memes about David. But yeah, he's out there. He's out there in Amsterdam. He's been traveling around. He went to so David's he really is being quite the world traveler, world poker traveler here. And I think
Yeah.
I think
Good
he's
for
been
him.
traveling around with his girlfriend who's also playing poker now. And
Yeah, he's a really good dude. I like David a lot. Good for him.
yeah, no, for sure. He's definitely a cool kid. And he's, I love that he's out there living the life, man. If I was in my early 20s and I was playing the way he was, I probably would have tried to do that too. But yeah, he was down
Yeah.
in Brazil lately. He's over in, currently he's in Prague there, it looks like. Is that what that just said, Prague? Yeah. Oh, Amsterdam. Sorry, Amsterdam, Holland Casino. No, one of the guys at my table was from Prague. Sorry. And he's been traveling all around playing. So they caught their eye. He got in their promo. So way to go, David, and good luck out there in Holland. Yeah, Frank says it's in the midway games. I wanted to go up there, Frank, but it was just every time because I did too well. I bagged on that. This was really rare for me. Also, one bullet bag up there in that mystery bounty. That was quite rare.
No,
It's quite rare for me.
Frank said Paul pulled it on his birthday because of course he did.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Just man, he must have done some good stuff in his last life because that guy's just got some good karma, man. But it's just
Yeah, but he's just, I mean, he definitely loves it. He definitely loves it. It's good. He's got some good energy when he's winning anyways. Yeah, so let's see here. Congratulations to those guys and good luck to Mr. David. So let's talk about something a little less pleasant. Let's talk about rake. So with the series around, this was also something that Rob had pointed out to me, Rob Gill, when the LAPC was running one of the later 400s. I think it might have been the Remington, the second Remington. He mentioned that he noticed that the rake on that thing had jumped up by $20. $20, that's quite a bit. Especially on a $400 tournament. So I took a look. I went and I took a look. I pulled up some of the structure sheets from 2022 LAPC and did some comparisons. And I didn't even go back further than that. It might be worse, probably worse if you look further than that. But just comparing between 2022 and now. So in 2022, that a $400 tournament, then they were only pulling $60 out in the rake. So that is about. I'm doing my math where I take the rake and divide it by the prize portion. So sometimes you take the rake and divide it by the whole amount, but I'm doing it rake divided by the prize portion. So that is about 17.5% rake back then. But now with the $80, that's a full 25% of the prize portion. That is a massive increase. I mean, that is the same as the 250. That's the same rake percentage as the 250s these days.
Yeah, I mean, I get that the cost is going up, and obviously poker isn't that lucrative for casinos anyway. So I guess I'm never like super against highish rake. 25% does feel a little bit high, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so that's massive increase. And then so taking a look around, the other one I compared was the 1K from that year. So the 2022, their 1K event was more of a actual 1K. It was a $1,100 buy-in. With $120 was rake, so that was about 12.25% rake. And then this year, as you know, was a 1,200 buy-in, so 1,200. So it was a 150 of that was rake, so that's a 14.3. So that's not as egregious. The larger ones are good, and I kind of want to point out what they did there, which I like, is they increased the total buy-in so that they could get a little more dollars out, right, without increasing that percentage as much. And what I want to say is that of course, we understand expenses are up. Things are expensive in LA. Costs are up. Inflation. Things have been, since 2020, since 2022, inflation's been high. But don't just take more rake out of the same dollar amount and call it a day, right? Because all that does is it hurts the entire player pool. My plea is if you need 10% more rake to cover the costs of running the tournament, that's what inflation increased the entire price point of everything.
Fine.
Instead of running that 400, run a 450 and take 10% more rake without increasing the percentage of rake you took. Right? Just get your money like that.
To do it that.
Yeah.
Interesting point to do it that way because inflation is definitely driving up your costs, driving up the rake. But I never thought about that. Like, why don't we also increase the buy-in? I mean, obviously like that. Yeah. Interesting point, Ty.
Because a $100 tournament, 15 years ago, that's so different than a $100 tournament now. A $100 tournament now is so entry level, so nothing, like so cheap.
Yeah.
Right, for most people.
Yeah.
A $100 tournament 15 years ago is like a $250 now. So if a 250 years ago should be a 300 now because unfortunately there was bad inflation.
When you see the absolute explosion of people attending 1Ks right now, like we couldn't imagine this many people playing 1Ks 4 or 5 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely, that's a good point. If you're gonna raise the rake, raise the buy-in.
Exactly, and then you get bigger prize pools, you get bigger numbers, everybody's just more excited, right? And then I did take a quick look around at some of the rakes at the other big series runners around town, right? So taking a look at the bike series going on right now. Now it's not apples to apples, so it's harder to figure because as we've mentioned many times, all of the ones that have to do with quantums, you can't just really look at the rake and the rake percentage. There's so much other things going on that it's not a straight comparison. But I did try to take a look at one that's close. The 1100 coming up is technically a quantum, but there are no day 2 buy-ins and there's only one price point for the day 1 flights, so it's pretty close. And the bike's upcoming 1100 is a 970 with 130 as the rake. So that's still lower than what Commerce ran, 13.4%, as opposed to the 14.3% that they just had. So, good on the bike for that one, assuming, the double bag bonus doesn't hurt us too much. Like I said, there's still a little bit of extra math to figure out, but it seems pretty good there. And then for the quantums that they are running, if you take them at face value and you just look at the percentages, they're pretty much in line and with everything else, which is still a bit high, but not egregiously high in and of themselves. It's just all the other complications that we can't really compare apples to apples. So if you look at the $360 flights that they had for the opening event, those were at about a 20% rake level. The 380 flights that they're running now are at a 17.1% rake level. The 560s are about 16.7% rake level. So these aren't that bad. If those were the rake levels for a normal one day, that'd be okay. Now,
it's also. Oh, go ahead. Finish.
I was just gonna say, I do though want to give some props, and I kind of want to encourage everyone. Man, we need to play at the Gardens more, because when they run events and they run series, listen to this. The winter series, they ran a $500. I believe it was a 100K guarantee. It was only $60 rakes on that $500. It was a 13.64% rake, and that's almost the lowest number. That is by far the lowest number for a tournament less than a 1K, and that looking at the numbers, it's insane. Like if they run more, if we can just get the Gardens to run more $500 tournaments, we are winning as a community. And
the Gardens is also one of the nicest casinos that we have to play in too. So just great deal. And also obviously Kevin runs a fantastic operations over there as well. And what's interesting too, as we're talking about raising rake to obviously cover their costs, because of this transition, I suppose, to like so many day ones, which then they're not like the day ones, like to Savage's point, is no longer about like shot taking, right? A satellite isn't shot taking into the tournament, and a day one isn't simply just a qualifying to day 2. It just becomes like almost this race, right? To get all the different like day 1 payouts, right? In terms of double bag bonuses. So what you're actually doing is you're getting people who have already qualified for day 2 to pay more rake. And then they're paying 8 times rake, right, for 8-time double bags. And even there might be 4 or 5 other flights that they didn't actually go through. So you had somebody who qualified with the freaking chip lead of 800,000. There's no reason that they would have to play again, and he fired, and he qualified 4 more times, right, or 3 more times. So you're basically raking people over and over again with these new formats. So it's yeah, it's really interesting. So I almost just feel like that they are getting, it's not just like the rake increase that they're benefiting from, but it's also like these formats.
Yeah. No, like I said, we've mentioned so many times that it's just there's so many layers and levels to it that you can't, it's just not apples to apples, and the
Right.
benefits are hard to compare, but they're definitely, we think we agree that it's overall just not that healthy, especially when we talk about the amateur rec category that we're going to talk about later with your group, right? With your post. So that's kind of my rant on the increasing rake around here. And it's kind of my plea. Hey guys, look, Commerce, if you need the more money, just don't run a 400, don't run a 320/80, just run a 500, run a 500 that's 775 rake. Like, that percentage will be so much nicer for us, please.
Yeah, I don't think that extra price point is going to cause people to not come out. So it feels like something you can safely do.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about something a little less unpleasant. The Savage Average did run this weekend, and by all accounts, it was a pretty big success.
Yeah.
I haven't read any real complaints about it. The people who did well have good things to say about it. Matt seems pretty happy about it. Yeah, he had this post here as a kind of a wrap up. He says that there isn't a lot of change about it. Maybe less time extensions and not running a competing event at the same time. So this is a kind of a recap of, this is sort of his crib notes, or his cheat sheet if you were to want to run one, say around here, Kevin or whoever's over there, the Commerce, or Mo, you watching, check out this tweet. He's got pretty much everything you need to know right here. So each blind level goes up when you lose 17% of the field, is what it looks like. So pretty cool.
Yeah, it just seems like such an interesting structure to just be that deep all the way through the tournament, all the way to the final table. And I just think it's unnecessary, like you and I talked about before, to be 200, 300 big blinds deep to start. It doesn't really matter. It does feel a little bit constrained to start with 50, and I think they said that, like, basically a third of the field had busted out before the rebuy period was over, or the reentry period was over. But I feel like that's still fair for the trade-off of what you get later on.
I'm not sure why. Is that 2 hours? Wow. So here's some interesting stats from his final post, right? So as you said, a third of the field was eliminated during registration, and I know that many of them rebought in. And the levels, apparently after reg closed, the shortest level was 32 minutes, and the longest level was 2 hours. I gotta think that might have been heads up or something, then that probably near the end. The final table time total was 4 hours, but they were always at 50
just the average. An average of 44 minutes per level is fantastic, right?
Yeah, a 44-minute average level. That means that you basically are, that means this 50 big blind average could be appropriate for 1K. Because that's,
it almost just feels like the levels kind of almost don't matter, really. All you're really doing is, like, as people bust, you're just adjusting to get the blind levels to the right place. So it's not really even like I guess it's technically a level jump. I don't know, but it's still interesting.
And these are funny stats here. Jeff Platt was the second to bust. I believe he also got third place in the tournament, though, so he rebought.
He did.
And he got in there. Ben Ludlow was he the winner? I believe he was. Was he the winner?
He came in second.
He was second place, and he had some thoughts as well. And he was very happy about this overall. I think he also thinks that, the obvious thing that should be intuitive that everyone loves is just to play so deep when it matters, right? And that's amazing. And he actually thinks that near the very end, the average stack should maybe get smaller, is what I read from this. I think he was saying, he said heads up is too deep, actually. So they're actually playing 75 big blind average.
Yeah, heads up was 75 big blind, so I'm surprised I didn't. But basically, he said that, so I saw your comment on my comment, which was that there wasn't an appropriate level, but what he actually said was it's at least 50 big blinds. So I guess they didn't go the other way with it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Yeah. But the other thing he said too was that a lot of the inexperienced poker players just kind of didn't adjust to the fact that they were so deep late in the tournament, and they were probably just playing a little bit too aggressively, which actually made it move fast. Like, people were just kind of punting, I think.
No, I totally.
Just because they weren't used to that format. So it's I love these new formats because in some sense though, it sort of rewards pros who are probably a little bit better at adjusting to new like games and figuring it out. But I love that aspect of just trying to figure out what the right strategy is and what is technically like an unsolved game.
No, for sure. It kind of throws a lot of things on its head, right? And it's awesome. I do agree. This may not be a good format for Triton because even if the average stack was like set to 15 big blinds, if the blinds never went up, their events might never end. So those guys are just so cautious and so ICM aware when it gets to the end. But for open fields, that's super fun to think about, and they just might want to have a couple rules in there, like some safety valves in case you do end up with a whole bunch of people who they're just playing too tight, right?
Yeah.
They're just playing way too tight so that it won't end. I think it might be good to do what you said. As you pointed out, when people get eliminated, right, the average shape stack goes up. So it actually, when they set the blind level, average big blinds is 50, and then it goes up until they set it again back down to 50. Maybe they should do it the other way if they're going to use a high level like that, where you play until it hits 50, then you set to the next blind level. So now you're actually lower, and then you keep playing until it hits 50 again.
Yeah, so I think there's like some little adjustments. It's the very first time they ran it, so I'm pretty sure they're going to learn a lot from it. Although Matt said he's probably not going to change too much. I also think he made some interesting points in his tweet about, he thinks like a 30 big blind or a 40 big blind is appropriate for like a 2-day tournament, and a 30 big blind is appropriate for like a 1-day tournament or something like that. So I think there are like different ways in which you can tweak it, right, to get to the number of days that you want. But yeah, I would love, and even if casinos aren't doing exactly a savage average, start a tournament with 50 big blinds and just sort of run it normally from there, because deep we are going to end up just naturally at probably like 30 big blind average, right, if you started from 50. So you just I think that's really the best poker tournament formats, is ones that let you be deep later in the tournament.
No, absolutely. And that's what we were pointing out, is we were shocked that so many of the LAPC tournaments actually didn't chop that early, because you still had 25, 30 big blind average, and we were able to play.
Honestly, those were some of the best structures I've seen. Like, props to LAPC, props to DJ for putting those together. Those were fantastic things. I actually sent Kevin a message to be like, hey, just check out the LAPC structures. They were super good. He's obviously always so responsive. When he showed me the 1K, it's very, very close to the Commerce 1K, right? There's just like a couple of differences where there's like one level that Commerce kind of squeezed in there. But I think Kevin obviously has his tournaments with a little bit longer late reg, because there's less starting days to try to get more.
And I'm okay with that if it's just a tiny bit, because they did force us to squeeze that third day in, and if we can just get it done in 2 days, that's even more. I'm okay.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
Yeah, but I'm excited about. Obviously, I'm always excited about these Gardens tournaments, even though I run really badly there. but just being able to look at the structure sheet and knowing that it's going to be really close to the experience that we had at LAPC, super exciting.
Yeah. So kind of talking about things that Matt's up to, right? So the other thing he came out with this week that was kind of interesting is that he previewed, or he put into place for the very first time, his new payout calculator. So he talked about this a little bit. I think he briefly touched on it with us, but he talked about it a little more over with Berkey and OnlyFriends guys. There's been a lot of chatter, and as we mentioned, Mr. Salzberg's been in his Twitter like crazy, giving his opinion on what should happen at the top of a payout structure, and he's got a new calculator out. He has unveiled it for the 1K that's happening at Thunder Valley. So this is the payout table for the 1K happening at Thunder Valley. It hit about $1 million in the prize pool, and there's, I think, basically about 1,000 runners. So here's the table. The first prize is 150K. Comes down. Now it's kind of tough to analyze just taking a look at it like this. I can tell you this: some of the things that he had said that I heard in the back and forth with the OnlyFriends podcast is that in this pay structure, there's only 8 people, I think, that get less than they do in this, and everybody else gets more. So that's pretty cool. And some things to kind of point out, I think, are just that so since there were 1,000 people, top 10 is I guess this structure will really show its worth in a extremely large field tournament. But it may not be exactly equal, but I did bring up a a quantum, just to show the extremes, right? This, you can't get much more extreme than this, but this was a quantum tournament with a prize pool of 1.2 million, which we know after removing the payouts and the double bags, this is actually about a $900,000 prize pool for the payout table. So I mean, it's pretty going to be a pretty stark difference when you look at how things go between these. Now, once again, not apples to apples, because quantums, by sheer numbers of counting all of the satellite qualifiers as entries, has a massive number of entries compared to the to a straight 1100. But I mean, if you look, the quantum gave 190,000 to first. This gives 150,000 to first. Ninth place, 15. So it looks like, other than this massive first prize, the final table payouts are comparable. You know, they're not the same, but they're pretty comparable, right? So if you look below that, though, let's take a look down there. So once we drop off of the final table, here, if I take a look, 10th through 12th, they get 11,000 in this payout structure. In Matt's payout structure, 10th and 11th get 13, 12th gets 11. And then if I just drop off just a little bit to say, let's take a look at 19th place here in the quantum, that's 7,000. And in Matt's structure, what do we get here? That was 19th place. So in 19th place, we get 8,000 here. So, you know, it's, on the one hand, it's like, it's only 1,000 when compared to the first prize, but it is a full buy-in. It's a full buy-in more. So
yeah, I mean, the difference between the structures really is, I mean, those little differences too. Yeah, obviously there's not that much money to go around, so that's why it seems a little bit close. But they do make quite a bit of difference in totality if a lot of tournament structures are this way, because what you're really doing is you're flattening payouts. You are rewarding people more for like deep runs, and then you're also rewarding more people for min caches, and also definitely flattening out like the initial couple of min caches, so you don't have people kind of running around trying to figure out, you know, what the little pay jumps are and everything. So a lot of the stuff that Matt does, and I think why you and I are such big fans of him, is because so much of what he does seems to be so carefully thinking about the long-term health of poker. Sometimes even, you know, it's almost like for our own good, right, to have structures like this. But obviously that money came from somewhere, and then that was basically $1 million tournament with the 15%, you know, top prize, right? That's what that was.
Yep. And if you look at 31st place here in Matt's payout, they got 6,800, whereas 31st in this Mega Millions payout would get 4,400, right? So that is actually pretty significant.
That's a big deal.
That's 2.5.
That's a big deal.
It's 2.5 buy-ins in a 1K.
And what place was that?
31st.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. 31st is a deep run, right? You're getting there to almost the final 3 tables, and it just feels kind of shitty to get 4K, but it feels really great to get 6, right?
Yeah, and that's almost 7. So you're getting, you know, not quite 7 buy-ins for that run there, whereas over here, you know, not at all. So you know, just some comparisons, and you know, for other comparisons, if you were to treat this as a 1-day, this Mega Millions had a $1,400 day 2 buy-in. So those buy-ins are actually larger. So you're actually getting fewer buy-ins at that, you know, at 4,400. You're actually getting more like, you know, 3.5, 4-ish buy-ins as opposed to the 7.5, almost 8 you get here. So definitely, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. I think these are the kind of things I would love to get out to the poker community more broadly, especially for, you know, what we'll be talking about the next segment about amateur recs. Like, what is it that you like more, right? Do you actually hate, you know, actually, what is it that you hate more? Do you hate finishing in 30th place and getting a little bit of a lower buy-in? Do you hate that your min caches feel so small? Because in my opinion, the very big top prize is what gets people to come out. People come out for $1 million, $2 million tournament expecting somewhere around a 20%, right, for first place. And that's the kind of thing that gets them excited, and that's the thing that gets them to come out. But then this obviously comes at the cost of all the other stuff that we're seeing, right? So which one is better for you? And I would love to hear from people what their thoughts are. I think that the bigger top prize will get more people to come out. So we're just being and not exactly greedy, but let's just say that we want to continue to grow poker tournaments. You probably want the big top prize to get people to come out. But obviously what Matt is doing helps with the sustainability, right, of the poker ecosystem.
Yeah, I think to a point that that nice number for top prize is important. But like when you look at things like last year's World Series of Poker main event, right? That
was terrible.
The pursuit of making the top prize big.
Yes.
Right, it really ruined the whole payout structure. So I think that's a very dangerous thing to make a one of like your bullet points of forming a payout, right? And to your point of what do you hate more? I don't think anyone would stop playing tournaments because, man, I win first place so much and I feel like I should be winning an extra 30 buy-ins. But
Right.
there are a lot of people who are like, man, I make the top 3% of the field and I'm a losing player. What the heck? And I do it.
Right.
I've made the top 3% of the field 5 times this year and I'm down on the year. What the heck, you know?
I think if we ran more of the savage structure, I think when people actually go deep, they will just feel better. They're going to be like, oh, this is actually a nice payout, right?
Right.
And then if they just see more and more of that, I think, it always just feels like Matt's running a marathon where his things, people will realize the benefits slowly and how he's like basically protecting the poker community instead of other places being really gritty and trying to just like, kill everyone and take all their money. But Matt definitely looks out for the health of the poker ecosystem.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's definitely why we love him. But so I have your tweet up here. You already started broaching some of the topics, and
Yeah.
it's a doozy. So you want to give us the bullet? You want to give us the elevator pitch of this thing?
Yeah, so I think I was a little bit antsy in the pants this morning. I hadn't had my coffee yet. I was just kind of thinking about the poker ecosystem, so I had to go on a little bit of a rant. But basically, like the basis of this, we kind of touched base on this a lot before, right? Is how do we grow poker? And we actually also touched on the fact that the biggest segment of players that we have are what we call amateur recs, and right, these are people that are 9-to-5ers, weekend warriors, but they come out regularly and play tournaments, right? You see them all the time, but they're not pros, right? This is going to be the majority, right? I don't know about cash games, but definitely in tournaments, that's going to be the majority of any single prize pool. That's the majority of our ecosystem, and it's still really, really untapped, right? And again, the point I was making is that in any sort of like product management or even just like businesses in general, how you grow your business is to find your largest segment of users, and then you target them until you get to some critical mass, and then you start expanding, right? So people start thinking about expanding internationally or maybe into other demographics like different ages and things like that, right? But mostly you start with that big one, you make them super happy, and then everyone else will come. And even Ty, you said before, if these card rooms cater to amateur recs and get them all to come out and they're constantly coming out and having huge prize pools, all the pros are going to come. You don't have to do anything to get them to come, right? You just give them the action and they'll just begrudgingly come no matter what, and you don't need to pacify them, right? They go where the action is, right? So like this is like the benefits of targeting basically that biggest segment. But it doesn't really feel like we're doing that, right? With the way that we schedule, right? Like exactly like what, why did you go to the Wynn, right? Or why are you even like not trying to fire as many bolts as you can at a freaking $2 million tournament?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I mean,
type?
you and I and we're that prototypical type you're describing, right? We work all week and we want to play on the weekends. And as I said, if I could play this tournament without having to commit to using a bunch of my vacation days, right, which are limited, and I only have to use a vacation day if I'm guaranteed to make like 5 figures, then I would fire until they closed reg, right? I'd be at that booth until be at the booth until they stopped me and said you can't go anymore. You have a problem. I mean, but with
and
that,
you have so many people like you on Twitter who instantaneously respond. They're just like, I do not come out for this literally for that reason. Like, why are you putting it midweek, right? I would fire as many bolts as I could if you just had it like a day 2 on Sunday.
Yeah.
And it just, it's mind-boggling that they're not, I don't, yeah.
And you know what? I noticed this. It's a lesser problem for the World Series because that is an actual event. It is an actual, like destination, big, huge thing. But this year with the World Series events, they did the same thing. I noticed last year, all of their events like the Mega Stack or the Millionaire Maker and whatnot, all their day 2s were on Sundays, day 3s on Mondays, etc., etc. This year, they have day 1s all the way right up until Monday, or all the way right up until Sunday, with day 2 being on Monday. Which now, if you're traveling from the East Coast, if you're doing whatever, you already planned a big trip, you took a week off. That's fine. But, I don't think it's an insignificant number of people who drive in and come in from LA.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if it was still the old way, because I was planning on trying to go up there 3, maybe 4 times, who knows? And now I'm thinking really I can only go twice, because if I make a day 2, I'm still not guaranteed getting much or anything. And if I want to go deep, if I do go deep, it's going to take a lot of vacation days, so I can't even afford to go deep many days, really. It's just,
are those the big ones like the Millie Maker and the Monster Stack?
Yeah, the Monster Stack day 1s go all the way to Sunday. The Millie Maker day 1s go all the way to Sunday. The same thing with Even the I believe the classes day ones go all the way to Sunday. Day two is now Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's concerning to me because I feel like that actually may hurt attendance. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, yeah. So like I said, it's slightly less bad for them because it is an actual event. People do plan their summers around this,
Like a
right?
summer camp, yeah.
But
Yeah.
like I said, I think there's a not insignificant number of people who drive up there from Vegas or who, it just like for me, it affects the number I can go to, right? So even if I was planning a trip, it would have been nice to be able to plan an extra one because, hey, I'll figure it out if I make day three. But now I can't because like I'm not going to figure it out if I
Right.
make day two. Like same thing. I'm not going to change
Right.
everything around just to ruin another day of vacation and make $500, right?
Yeah, and I think the operators need to recognize this, that their biggest segment, these are the things that they think about all the time, right? It's a very, very careful choice about which tournaments they play at what times of the year. So when you have, let's just basically, if you have amateur regs, like regulars, right, who are local to your city and they're going to the Wynn, right, to play over the weekend, like some tournament when you have a big one locally, like that's really a big deal. And I really think they need to start listening to this kind of stuff. Because if we are actually after the biggest customer growth that we need, like the amateur reg segment is really still untapped, right? You see this in the numbers, our negative player growth. You see how big things are booming everywhere, right? There's so many players that just don't come out and play our tournaments, right? And we were missing out on so much potential, and I think that was just all my frustration. But it was great, great just having people come out and sort of give their responses. Brian Hastings actually like retweeted, and I asked him some questions, and he also left a whole bunch of really good, comments and suggestions on his end of things too. Obviously, that guy's like been in poker forever, knows things like in and out. So yeah, really, really good feedback on that thread. But no, it just really feels like again we're not doing the right things.
Yeah, I see. I imagine it's Mark Goon running the Hungry Horse Twitter here, but it might be someone else in their group. But I see they're nominating you to go ahead and start running tournaments around here, Derek. So, they may have some openings around. You might want to contact these guys, see if you can get their ear and run one of these rooms, huh?
I wouldn't want to be a poker operator when you have these LA Poker Roundup boys constantly riding my ass about everything.
I know, right? I mean, we'd be especially hard on there. We'd be like, this guy's got a background. He should know what he's doing now. What is he thinking?
If I ever like got into a role like that, I can just guarantee you that I would be so active on Twitter. I would be constantly talking to people. I would be like, can I get the budget to have 200 poker players come out on a Friday night and just cater, and just sit there and have a chat with them about what it is that they want, right? These are the kind of things we need to do to reach out and really understand what people want. Like I kind of feel like we don't know.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think we know when we retire, our retirement jobs will obviously be to set up at some of the casinos around here, and we can have competing. We will be the ones having the competing series at that point. It'll be that'll be us in 30 years, man. We'll be good to go.
Yeah, they were kind of joking around either on Twitter or even during the Savage podcast about, like, should we actually start our own card room? And I just wonder if a little bit more of like a community driven card room that brings the WPT and a WSOP, like how would that do, right? Obviously it would be like so costly and so hard to get the licenses and regulation, but
yeah, those things
something
are not
like
cheap.
that where it's a little bit more community driven. I just wonder how that would do.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. It just takes a couple big events and a bit of love and a bit of elbow grease, right? Like these mid stakes tours that have been popping up, like the Run Good series, and
Right.
these things just kind of, I feel like they just popped up and they're just being driven by a lot of goodwill and a lot of elbow grease, and they seem like they're doing well.
What's a commonality out of a lot of those series is that they have a day one on Saturday, one of their day ones on Saturday, and a day two on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very, very like just on the clock. And like and I think was it somebody also made a pretty good point. It's just like even if you have a day three that goes on to a Monday, like people will just still play because it's like they're gonna get a cash on day two. And then if they have to, like it's a nice problem to have that it's going to be day three, need to call in for one more day, right? And this is basically how working people think about it, right? And if you don't understand that, like you just kind of don't get it. I think they also made a point that like basically they don't mind playing a final table until 5 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday because that's one out of the 10 or 15 tournaments they play a year, right?
Yeah.
And they're thrilled about that. So it's just like I feel like you really need to understand this user segment.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. That's exactly the way I feel. and it's also just, even if you play more than 15 a year, like I fire a lot of bullets every year. The difference between having to take off for day 2s and take off for day 3s is immense. Just think about the number of times you do so, right? Especially with multiple entries. I might make a day 2 if I can fire 2 or 3 day 1s and multiple bullets. I might make day 2 like 35-40% of the time, right? Maybe. And so even with that optimistic number, I don't want to call out at work 35-40% of the time. However, making day 3, that'll be like what? Like 3% of the time, 2% of the time.
And also, and typically day 3s are going to start at like 1 p.m.-ish, right? So you also get the
morning. Maybe get a half day, yeah. So you're talking about a difference between taking off like, I don't know, like say taking off like, you're asking to take off 10 days a year plus make 11 or 12 if you make those day 3s, as opposed to taking off 2 days a year, right? The stress that puts on people, or the ability to be able to come and fire, is just so different.
And poker operators has listened to this type of feedback, and these are the needs and this is the thinking. I'm pretty sure you would completely change how you schedule things and run things.
Yeah.
You also got Mike Wasserman in chat. So Mike, big fan of Mike. I feel like he also does. He doesn't listen to our show that often, so I'm actually like super excited that he's here.
What up, Mike? What up, Mike? Thank you.
He said Rob Young did that at party, and for his live poker room, he asked people on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I think that, obviously Rob Young is has a bigger pocketbook and bigger network than we do, but it is good to see that people have kind of done that sort of thing and tried it and had some success with it.
Yeah, and if you recall, when we were pulling those numbers and you had that anomaly for the bikes event that one
quantum.
year, well, it was a world, and it was like a circuit one, and I remembered and I complained, man, it blew my mind when, just to show how this has just been systematic. It's not something they just started doing, that they put their circuit event main on a weekday. It just blew my mind. They were the only one in the entire circuit schedule that did that, and I still haven't seen anybody run a circuit series where the main event wasn't Sunday day 2. They're the only ones.
I don't even know how. Doesn't WSOP have some say in the schedule? Like I don't know. Just crazy.
I don't think so. And
but the thing is, this is just like such a repeated behavior from the bike, and it's over and over again. Like who are they listening to, right? I mean, I did talk to, I don't want to name him, but one of the floormen over the weekend, very knowledgeable floorman, huge respect for this guy, by the way, at the bike. And he was basically saying, some of the things that they try to cater to is they're trying to work around other events like the Wynn events, right? And then you have people that kind of go there to play and then bust out and kind of come back. So that's why they schedule things middle of the week to try to catch those people. I'm like, is that really the right way to think about it though? Like, who are you catering to? Like, who is it that's traveling there and then coming and playing something midweek? Are you catering to 25
regs, people tops,
25 regs out of maybe trying to get 15-20% more penetration of 10,000 potential players out there, right? And so what is it that you're catering to, and is it that they will fire 10x more bullets right than other people? I don't think so. So who are we catering to, right?
All right. But yeah, so if you haven't jumped in on that conversation yet on Twitter, make sure you go find it either on the LA Roundup account. We have retweeted it. Find Derek's account. Jump in on that conversation. Throw your opinions down. We'd love to hear them. Love to interact. I have a couple other loose ends that I have been reminded of throughout our conversation I wanted to toss down. One is that there still hasn't been any resolution in my mind to these rumors about Commerce getting a circuit event. And I know I threw out a big rumor that it could have been getting the Tournament of Champions. Well, we still don't know where the Tournament of Champions is going to be.
When is this series over at the bike?
The series is over at the bike, I believe, in April. What is it? April? Let me see. I have the schedule right here. So the last thing is on the 16th of April. But technically it's done the 15th because those last 2 days are just the Mega Millions final days.
Yeah, I mean, we're less than a month away from the end of that, so obviously the Commerce should be promoting their next series.
Yeah, well, we have a we have a quick one, like a week-long or 2 week long one over at the Gardens, so we won't want to miss that. They've got a nice 1100 coming up. But yeah, the Commerce needs to announce what's happening, and usually they do. I mean, the next one's usually the California State Poker Championship, right? I think.
It's a big one, yeah.
And last year it wasn't so big, honestly, but they didn't have the ballroom either. However, the rumor was this should and could be a circuit event. And on Twitter, what what is his name? The Poker News guy. Shoot, not Holloway. One of the guys, Mathers, I think. Mathers? That's one of the fellas?
Oh, Kevin Mathers?
Yeah, Kevin Mathers.
Kevin
He
Mathers.
gets bugged about
Like
this
Kevin
all the
Mathers,
times, right? And he's been getting asked, where's the Tournament of Champions? When is it? When are we going to know? And he was teasing that there should be an announcement on March 15th. Well, that was last week. On March 15th, people were asking him again, hey, what's going on? I thought you were going to say what's happening or someone's going to announce. He's like, well, I heard it might be a few more days. So I heard some pretty, what I felt was credible information that the Commerce is trying to get at least a circuit event, possibly the tournament. The other thing was that those contracts the ink might not have been all dried and signed. And with these delays, I am getting concerned that something bad is happening, at least bad for the LA scene. So I still have my fingers crossed, but I don't know. Keep your eyes out there in the World Series announcements, man. I don't know what's happening. They still haven't announced the Tournament of Champions, period. So no one knows where it is, right? It could be they don't know. They have to announce that. The series is coming up. What are we, 2 months away? I mean, they need to announce this soon.
I'm typically a glass half empty kind of guy anyway, because living my life like this makes it so that I don't get disappointed as much when disappointments come. So it's actually kind of nice to have that, I guess, right now with the way that the current LA poker ecosystem is going, to not be super disappointed if we miss out on the WSOP.
Look, well, I am generally a realist, but I still have my fingers crossed here that we are going to get it.
Of course I do too. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah,
I'm
hoping.
So keep your eye on things. Let's go. Let's keep our eye out and see if we're going to get that circuit event. I want it announced this week. I want to know. Give us that circuit event in May. Make it big. Make it huge. Give us the tournament champions. Give us something. Give us something. We deserve something. Please.
And you know what? One WSOP event can be that catalyst that just gets people traveling back here again, seeing us as a destination again, right? But we would obviously lose all of those players if we don't do more to retain them. But then that's why it sort of excites you when we hear some of the stuff from Amanda, right? Because she's telling us about how much the Commerce is committed to making some improvements across the entire casino in general, how they're thinking about things like player rewards and stuff like that, right? So if we can just kind of do all these things in unison, where you get people to come here again for something like a WSOP circuit event, and at the same time show them the coolness of Commerce, even though they obviously need to kind of maybe upgrade some of their their areas a little bit, but obviously if they're still making improvements overall, right to stuff, that is the kind of thing that could maybe stick, right? So we really do need a WSOP event here, I think, badly, or a WPT event.
Yeah, so I mean, fingers are still crossed on that, but keep they have to announce something soon, right? I mean, they have to.
Right.
Whether it's here or somewhere else, World Series has to announce tournament champions. I mean, people need to know where to go.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else from you, Derek? I think that is all I had for this week, other than the roundup.
Yeah, let's get to the roundup.
All right. I really need to find somebody to do a graphic or something. All right, so let's do a roundup for the week. So what's happening this week? Well, as we've been talking about pretty much this whole time, the Quantum, right? We still have the Quantum wrapping up this week at the bike. Well, I mean, it's not. I'm sorry. It's not wrapping up. The day ones, quote unquote, will be wrapping up. So those are going on every single day. They have the $560 dollar buy-ins happening at 11 and 4. The $280 buy-ins happening at 2. That is every single day, all the way up through Saturday. Sunday is the day 2A. Apparently, they are also running one more $560 flight. Actually, they're running two more $560 flights that day. My bad. So they will be running that Mega Millions day 2A then, and then day 2B on Monday. Same repeat there, with the additional days happening after that. So then after that series is over, they will go back to doing their kind of the same kind of weekly schedule they had a couple weeks ago, where they do some one-day Hold'em events and some mixed game events. So keep your eye out for those coming back if you were looking at those. As I mentioned, the Commerce Dailies are back. They are happening, and they are their regular schedule. So for those who are unsure, because it's been a while, the Commerce Dailies are weekday tournaments, all start at 4 p.m. and the registration ends at 7:20 p.m. for all those. So those are good. They try to make them accessible for those of us who are working and who live close enough to Commerce to get there. So those are $130 for the Monday through Thursday events, and the Friday event is a bounty, so it's $175 with a $50 bounty put in there. The weekend event Saturday is a 10,000 guarantee $250 event, And the Sunday event is a 10,000 guarantee, $150 event with an optional add-on. So those are the daily tournaments that happen at Commerce, and those are back on now that LAPC is over. As usual, the Hawaiian Gardens dailies also happening at the same time. Those are as normal this week. The Hollywood Park has, it's not too exciting, but they have their sort of regular events happening. They have this weekend a $25,000 guarantee on Friday and Saturday, so that could be worth checking out. Those look like they start at 10 a.m., reg until 1:30. And then Lucky Lady has its normal events as well. Now, the following week on the 30th, the weekend of the 30th, Hollywood Park will have no tournaments on Easter Sunday, even though it's listed here. They have them listed. They had on their Twitter today that there will be no tournaments happening on the March 31st, which is Easter. So I guess they must have overlooked that in their schedule there. And Lucky Lady will be running a larger than normal tournament on the 30th. So at 3 p.m. on the 30th, they will be running a 20K guarantee, which is a little larger than their normals. I think typically it's a 5K or 10K guarantee over at Lucky Lady. So March 30th.
That's nice.
Yep, they have that. And another thing to mention is that it looks like Cedric and the Bad Beat Blockers have come to some sort of partnership with them. So the last Monday of every month, they have a branded tournament over at Lucky Lady. I think it's not too different from one of their weeklies. I think it's pretty similar to their Friday Night Grind, but it's a branded tournament. I don't know if they're like giving out swag or what. If you see Cedric, maybe ask him, but that's, there you go. Lucky Lady has a partnership there.
Yeah. Those are BBBs making quite a name for themselves in LA, so good for him. Good for Cedric.
Yeah. I love the way their logo reminds me of 90s Nintendo stuff. It just really hits me.
Yeah, I got one of the hats too. It's pretty nice.
All right. Okay, guys, that is it. I think I am actually going to fire a couple of the Mega Millions afternoon flights this weekend, but if I don't bag, I'm not going to cry. So, I don't know.
I guess I will fire, and I will probably fire at least one day 2 bullet on Sunday but hopefully I'll just make it in, and this crazy bad run will stop. Just bag like 500K or something off of one.
I don't believe me until like Sunday afternoon comes around, but I honestly don't think I'll fire a direct day 2 bullet into this thing. I just don't think it's worth it.
I'm not feeling a lot of FOMO out of you, so I'm not surprised if you don't show up.
I mean, as much as I want to play the largest guarantee we have around here, I just don't want to risk losing $7,000 and taking a day off of work. I guess if I made day 2, I would get 1,000 back. So I don't want to like risk losing $6,000 and taking a day of vacation. It just I'll just wait for the next one.
Yeah, it's a very sad state of affairs when like ties, you're such a grinder, right? You just go play like every single thing that's possible for you on the weekends.
Exactly.
Obviously you're also a big game hunter, so the 2 million guarantee not getting you out there is a bad sign.
Yeah. If you can't get me excited, I mean, you're definitely doing something wrong. I don't know. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Thank you for some of the first-time commenters, Mike, and the long-timers, all of you. Not to get you too excited, but some of you who've been here since the start, we may have some hats and some things coming around, so we may be able to accommodate some of your requests there. So we're hoping to get our name out there a little more as well. So thanks for joining us. That is it for us. I will be staying in town this week, so this time I actually will see you at the tables this weekend, guys.